love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always
Namaste friends. In today's lecture, we are going to be seeing about AWS Identity Access Management. And this is going to be the very first lecture we are going to be going into hands-on, and we're going to be seeing how to actually set up the Identity Access Management. Okay, so let's actually take a deep dive. Thank you. In today's lecture, we are actually trying to get into hands-on in AWS, okay, Amazon Web Services. Remember, that is what I told you. So we are going to be touching on the most basic but extremely important concepts of IAM. So what is an IAM? It is called Identity Access Management. So in today's lecture marks the very first time where I'll be shuffling between. The first is my PowerPoint slides and the second is my blog spot where I keep writing because I want to explain certain things in a lot more better manner so that you guys can actually understand before we actually get into IAM. Okay, we will try to do hands-on, and we'll try to see how many hands-on, because there are certain areas where it really can get tedious, but let's actually see whether we can do hands-on and everything. All right, so today's agenda is what is an identity access management, what is a root account, what is the identity access management roles and policies, and needless to say, my contact. So identity access management, what is an identity access management at a layman's term, okay, for a common ear? Now say suppose you are working in a building and this is a very sophisticated building. You must be having the permission to enter. Okay. So for that you must be having a badge, and the badge will be having some security code. So once you actually click on that door, it either says green or red. It will either allow you or not allow you depending upon your role. Okay. And in the same building you have multiple rooms, okay, multiple offices, multiple rooms. Now I'm assuming that you're actually punching in your badge in every of the rooms. Only like the CEO or the top level will have access to every area, okay, only a handful of the people. So the sweeper will have access to a good number of area because he has to sweep and clean the places. But office employees might not be able to access the CEO room or finance room, if you're not working there. So they actually limit persons depending upon their roles and their responsibility. It is not trying to be rude. It is just they feel this person does not need that kind of a privilege right now because they can do anything because it is just mere humans, right? So we can do anything and everything, right? So identity access management is the same thing. Well, if you don't understand this example, now say suppose you're all living in a house and somebody either own house or in a flat. Okay, in a own house, you're not going to let strangers. You're like, who are you? I'm not going to let you in. In a flat, what is going to happen is, if some person says I want to see President Krishna Sharma, it says the security guard is going to call you. They're going to say their name or they're going to FaceTime and you say yeah, I know this person, let him in. Or no, I don't know this person. I don't know who this person is, so don't let them in. This is identity access management. With the identity, you can actually access the area. So that is what it is at a high level. So in the identity access management, there are a few important terms such as a root account, policies and rules. Okay, so let me actually give you a very high level example. The root account is the account with which you actually create the AWS, sign into the AWS Console. So that is the root of the root which actually you do and nothing can be changed. So that is why it's called a root account. Okay, so just letting you know. In order to enable the root account, we go for a multi-factor authentication, which I'll be discussing. Now, what do we actually see here? The IAM is universal. So across the globe, it does not fall under it comes under Virginia area, North America area. So it does not come under that. Or in other words, an employee working in just a particular department will have only access to that particular department across the offices in the globe. Okay, so when a new person is actually entering, they will not have any permission to start with. All right, now let's actually the authentication in the IAM is you have users and groups. So the users is basically how we actually create, which will be creating, and you can actually assign the users in the groups. So when you actually put the users in the groups, any permission given to the group, all the users inherit. or in other words, when you say like, the HR department or the finance department, now persons working in the finance department, they can actually see these kinds of records. They can go to these kinds of rooms. Okay, so that is the policy for that department. Now, Prasanna Krishna Sharma and my wife Jayashree, now Prasanna, I joined the finance department. Based upon the group, I get all the accesses in the group, okay, for the department. My wife Jayashree is a CEO, so I mean she is like global, okay. Or if she joins the HR, she will have accesses, all the accesses of the HR group. I trust this actually makes sense. If not, please feel free to ask me a question, and I'll be extremely happy to help you guys out. So the policy, what is a policy? Policy is something we always say, hey, this is not my policy. I will not cheat. Hey, as a company, we don't do this. Okay. So, we have certain sets of, rules and regulations and policies. So we always say that, right? Something we have always heard, right? Is the same thing. Okay. So the policy is a document with a set of rules where we actually say this can be done, that cannot be done. Okay. And the policies are actually attached to the users, groups and roles. Okay. The policies are two kinds. One is a managed policies, okay, which can be reused and attached to multiple entities. Okay, the AWS itself provides a lot of policies, and there are also inline policies. These policies are applied directly to the identity access management entities. Okay, but these policies are not reusable. Okay, so managed are reusable, but this is not reusable. There is something called as a roles versus policy. What is a role? A role is, what is a role? Like I'm a manager, I have a role of a manager, or I'm a software developer, I have a role of a software developer. I am a CEO, I have a role of a CEO. Or in other words, I have a role as a friend, a father, a husband. And likewise, every role is basically like, the part that you actually take in, it becomes a role. Okay, so the IAM role managers, okay, it basically has access to the AWS resources. Okay, so suppose if I am a father, I need to, that is my role, right? So I have access to some kind of a resource, right? And and husband is different, a friend is different. So these are roles. So a role actually manages the access to your AWS resource, whereas a policy, it actually controls the permission. Okay, when or in other words, when a role is actually attached with no policy, it means like the person does not have any authority. Okay, the policy that is not attached to an IAM role is basically unused. Okay, so the IAM roles and policies go hand in hand. I trust I made this clear. Okay, and needless to say, like, my contact information. Having said that, let's actually jump into my very first blog spot. First time we are going to see the blog spot. So this is my blog spot, which is keywordpras.com, and it is in the AWS Cloud. So we actually learned of everything. The reason why I'm actually trying to show you is the identity access management is basically who we are actually letting to see who can actually access and what kind of resources they can actually access. This is exactly what I said. Okay, and I've also given you the steps to actually secure the root account, okay, such as a multi-factor authentication, create an admin group, and everything, and how this multi-factor authentication can come, and what is a user, group and role. Okay, so who's a user, who's a group, okay, any person, the group, anything actually put to the group gets attacked, you actually inherit the permission, and that is exactly what I told you with the department. And I did said you about IAM is universal, and no new person is given any permission to start with. It's zero permission. We talked about policies, we talk about other things. So this is the thing which actually happens. So the best practice is to actually inherit the groups of permissions, or in other words, we have groups and roles, and when users actually come in, this is exactly what I actually told you. Okay, so the example of a policy document, which you'll also be seeing in the hands-on, is something which actually comes like this. You give almost everything. This is a JSON document. A JSON is a Java orientation. Don't worry, I'm also teaching Python side by side. Hey, what you're telling Java and Python, but if you actually understand the syntax, you can actually know everything. See, always say action, always remember year, EAR, year, okay, which is effect, action and resource. So the effect is you're basically allowing this thing, and the action is for the star is everything. You're not stopping anything. Okay, so this is what you do for an uncontrolled policy. All right. So having said that, I just wanted to show this before we go on to the hands-on, which we'll be discussing now. All right, stay tuned. This is a way we actually sign into the AWS console. Okay, so this is the very first time we're actually signing into it. So please, watch this quite carefully. Okay, so this is a signin.aws.amazon.com, and basically it actually gives you something. And my root user email ID, remember the root email that we're link is keywordpras@gmail.com. This is something that we actually discussed. So I'm going to be signing in with this, and I already have my password saved here. So I'm going to be signing it. Okay. So when I actually sign in, this is what, so this is my AWS console. So blah, 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 blah. So it is so easy, right? So I've actually gotten into my console. So, and the console, if you actually see, it's Northern Virginia. This is actually like, selected by default. And, so, this is a, will replace your existing. Okay. This is okay. Okay. So in the services area, we have, so much of services, analytics, blockchain, cost management, developer tools, management, and everything. So this is all we actually have, in all services. Okay, so this is where the magic is. So in the all services, if we actually go, we have this compute, quantum technologies, the security, anything, compliance, the IAM that we've been talking of so far. Okay, the cloud formation, the containers, chatbot, storage, cost management, database, media, application integration, AR, VR, networking. This is a universe. Can you believe it? This is why Amazon Web Services is such a big company. I think the stock market and the stock is like, I think it's like, $3,000 or something in that range. Don't get me right here. Don't get me accountable here. I might be wrong. But Amazon, it's huge. So see what this guy has actually done. I mean, this is like, he has got everything here. I mean, this is like a universe. If you actually enter in, this is a universe. So in this universe, the very first part that we're entering into is this IAM, which is Identity Access Management. And this is exactly what we have been seeing in the previous group. Okay. So the very first thing is I have a root user. Okay. Which is my keywordpras@gmail.com. And I need to add my MFA. Okay. And MFA is basically a multi-factor authentication. So the password is okay. Okay, so in this password actually gives me a a group like this. For the multi-factor authentication, I need to say activate my MFA. So I can actually authenticate this with an MFA device or anything. Okay, let's say this. So what is going to happen is install a compatible app on your mobile device or computer. Okay, so let's see what all what all things are here, and we can actually download in the iOS phone. So so the virtual MFA device, we have hardware request, applications, Android. For the iPhone, we have Duo Mobile, Authy, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, and stuff. So I'm going to actually go and try this Authy. Okay, and let me see what is what. So this is what it is, and you need to actually download in your in your iPhone and then come back here. So having said that, let me actually do it, and let me actually pause the video till I have something. The Authy. So now after downloading, I need to come here and I have to say show QR code, and the show, this is going to show me a QR code, and what I have to do is I need to add an account, and I have to say scan QR code in my mobile app. And boom, now I'm actually doing it. I'm doing my phone as actually accessing. So basically this actually gives me adds the Amazon Web Services here, and it's basically I can actually give the code here. I have two codes, so I'm going to write in the first code, and I need to wait for the second code. The first code expires in 30 seconds, and I'll give the second code. And I will actually assign the MFA, which is a multi-factor authentication. Okay, so I still have 6 more seconds, so hang in with me, and I'll actually give the second one. So I have the second code here, and I'm going to assign the MFA. So if this is actually working right, boom, I've actually activated it. So this is what it is. I've actually activated it, and the access keys and stuff, like See, the access keys and stuff, it is only one time. So once I actually create an access key, you need to actually store it somewhere, otherwise it will be lost. Okay, so I'm going to say create an access key, and this access key is only for me, and I'm going to download this key file. I'm not going to show you guys the access key because you can actually access my computer, which I don't want, and I'm going to download this. So this is a root key, and you have to be very careful here. All right, I can also make it inactive and stuff of that nature. So the key pairs, okay, account identifiers, okay, let's not worry about it. So let's actually get into the user groups and users. So the idea here is, what is a user group, and I can actually create a group. Okay, so when I'm actually creating a group, what I'm actually trying to do is I'm going to say education group, because this is what we are actually doing. Okay, so in the education group, right now I need to create one, but I don't have any person added to that. Okay, and then the policies and stuff of that nature. So let me actually create this group and then attach the policies. Okay, so I've created an education group, and see here how much policies Amazon has actually given. Did you actually see this? It has got a bunch. So that is why I said Amazon itself is basically nothing but a universe. Okay, we have a universe here. So I'm going to go for the administrative. Okay, so I'm going to go for the administrator. Remember I told you which room who has what. Okay, so I'm going to give this administrator here. This is the policy, and I'm going to say create a group. Valid characters are required. Okay, so education, let's say underscore group. Maybe this might actually work. Create a group. Bingo. So this education group has been created. It's actually loading, so it's being created. So the moment it actually does, inside the group, let's actually create some users. Okay, it's loading, but that is the way you actually do it. Let's actually come here. So the users, you can actually add the users and what is the role for them, and what is the policy. So let's actually see one policy, right? Okay, let's actually see how this JSON is. See here, the version is like this. They're giving a allow, and the action, remember I told you here EAR, the effect is allow, and the action is for these things EC2 you have to allow this, and that is what it is for the resource everything. Okay, so this is what the here actually comes very handy. So this is the policy. All right, so this is a JSON. So by this time I think the group would have been defined. If not, like yeah, let's actually go here, education group. So in the education group also we can actually add the users. So since this is actually creating, it's creating some problems, but let's actually see here. I can actually add a user. So the username is, the very first one is Prasannan. Okay, and I can say enables access ID. Okay, I can say like this. Okay, and password, enables password, allows the users to sign into here. We can actually auto generate a password, or I can actually customize the password for this person to actually, I myself can actually give a password, or I can actually send this password, and I can say like in the next permission just send them this thing. Okay, so add user to a group, which is correct. I'm going to add the user to this education group. Okay, this is a tag, and I'm going to say next. So a tag is a key, right? So I'm going to say education AWS Cloud Computing, cloud computing, anything for that matter. Okay, it is just like the hashtag. Okay, so it's like a hashtag, and I can say next. So Prasannan, on this I actually have this, and I can actually create this user. Okay, so I have an access ID, access key for Prasannan. I can actually send this person an email, okay, telling that we can add an account. So what I will do is Okay, have an access key. I can actually so this is a sign on, this is a sign on, this is like a URL. Okay, so this is like an URL. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking a notepad. So in a notepad I'm going to being copying these things. Okay, so hang in with me. So the very first thing I'm going to be doing here is, my mouse is giving me some problem. Okay, so I'm going to be actually copying this. Okay, users with this, because I need to save this for my purposes, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to show my password. So this is the password, in order to enter for this, and I can actually change my password. And so this is my access key ID, and this is what it is. So I can send this email to this person. I can actually hide everything, the secret access key as well, and I can actually close. Boom. So Prasannan is actually ready in this education group. Okay, and I showed you the policy. I actually assigned you the policy, the roles. Okay, I actually assigned the roles. We can actually give the role of support for, and we can actually create the role, and I just, all the things are actually pre-selected. Okay, it is actually pre-selected. Okay, so all the policies as well. So let's actually get in here. So I've actually identified one root user. This we actually saw. I can actually manage the access keys. So create a new access key. Let's actually create this. Create a new access key. For this, I've already downloaded the file. All right. So basically, we have this user group. The roles and policies have been has been assigned. The identity providers, the account settings. Okay, so we can actually change the password policy. So if you actually go here, remember, like they say, you have to change your password every particular time. So you can actually say one uppercase, one lowercase. You need a number, you need a special character, password expiration every 90 days. You can change your own password, and you can also prevent the password reuse, and you can actually store up to 5 passwords. Okay, so you can actually save the changes. So this is the way everybody actually does it. Okay, and it has been updated. So this is the way it always actually happens. All right, so I trust you guys actually understood the basics of identity. Namaste friends, I trust you might have actually enjoyed my lecture. If you feel like some of the concepts are not clear or something you do not understand that I actually failed in explaining, please don't hesitate to actually ask me. I'll be extremely happy to actually explain it in a lot more simpler terms. IAM is a very first building block towards getting into the universe of AWS. All right, so what did we learn? We learned about what an identity access management is, what a user is, what a role is, what a privilege is, and how the users, when they actually attach to the group, they actually inherit all the permissions. So we actually learned how to actually set up the multi-factor authentication. We actually created a group, and we actually created a user. We actually assigned some roles and policies. All right, so this is a very first start, and I can't thank you enough for giving me your time, and also thank my wife Jayashri for allowing me to follow my passion in order to create these YouTube channels. Till we see next time, take care, thanks, cheers.